It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. Rhea passed by a small, half-forgotten shop squeezed between two closed buildings. Old Curios and Things, the wooden sign read. She almost walked past. But something in the window caught her eye. A small pair of eyes, huge, glossy, black. The Labubu doll was sitting inside a dusty glass cabinet. It didn't look new. It wasn't one of those colorful, cartoonish ones from Instagram. No, this one looked different. Handmade, maybe. The fur was faded, dull gray instead of bright brown, and one of its long ears drooped awkwardly like it had been twisted too many times. Still, there was something weirdly cute about it. Without knowing why, Rhea stepped inside the store. The bell above the door didn't ring. No music played, just silence. Dust floated through the dim light, and old shelves groaned under the weight of forgotten objects. Typewriters, cracked frames, ceramic cats. She approached the counter, where an old man sat with his back turned, hunched and still. His breathing was slow and shallow. Rhea cleared her throat. "Excuse me, how much for that doll in the window?" The man didn't move for a long second. Then, with stiff fingers, he reached below the counter and placed a small, black card on the table. Chew. Gold letters, it read, "Take it, but do not keep it. Ever." Rhea frowned. "Is this a joke?" The man didn't answer. She hesitated. But something about the doll. She couldn't explain it. It reminded her of her childhood, of a toy she'd lost in a fire when she was 6. A toy she had never quite forgotten. And so, she took it. The man didn't ask for money. He just wrapped the doll in an old newspaper and handed it over with trembling hands. As Rhea turned to leave, she heard him whisper something, so softly she could barely hear it. She turned around. "What did you say?" His lips barely moved. "Don't let it hear your name." She laughed nervously, unsure if he was senile or joking. By the time she got home, the drizzle had turned to a steady rain. Her small apartment felt unusually cold, but maybe that was just her wet hair. She set the Labubu doll on her bookshelf, next to her old sketchbooks and a photo frame of her mother. Its black eyes reflected the dim light from the window. That night, she had the strangest dream. She was in a forest, running barefoot, leaves crunching beneath her. Something was chasing her. Small, quick, and silent. Every time she turned, there was nothing behind her, but she could hear it breathing. Then came a voice almost childlike. High-pitched, curious. Ra. She woke up with a jolt. Her heart was racing. The room was dark. Too dark. Even the streetlight outside, the one that always cast a soft orange glow through her window, had gone out. And then she noticed it. The Labubu doll wasn't on the shelf anymore. It was sitting at the edge of her bed, facing her. The next morning, Rhea told herself she must have moved the doll in her sleep. Maybe she woke up half-conscious and placed it at the foot of her bed without realizing. That had to be it. There was no other explanation. But when she picked it up, to place it back on the shelf, she noticed something odd. The doll's hands were dirty, smudged with dust. But not from her apartment. It was the kind of gray-black dust you find in old basements or behind long-forgotten furniture. Still, she shook it off. She was tired, maybe still dreaming, but that entire day she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her around the room. From her desk, her kitchen, even when she stepped into the bathroom and looked into the mirror, she felt it staring. That evening, her best friend Tara came over. "Ugh, what's that?" Tara said, pointing at the Labubu on the shelf. Rhea smiled awkwardly. "Just something I picked up yesterday." Tara narrowed her eyes. "It's kinda creepy. It looks like it wants to bite something." Rhea chuckled. But her laughter was cut short when Tara said, "You know it said your name, right?" Rhea froze. "What?" Tara blinked. "Didn't you hear it just now? It whispered your name?" Rhea's voice dropped to a whisper. "No, I didn't." They both stared at the doll in silence. It sat there, unmoving, but its head seemed to have tilted, just slightly. They left the apartment shortly after. Spent the evening out, grabbed dinner, tried to laugh the unease away, but when Rhea returned home alone, something was waiting for her. The doll had moved again. Now it was on the floor, right at the center of her room, sitting perfectly straight. Hands resting on its knees. Her heart pounded. She didn't touch it. Didn't even go near it. She simply turned away, went straight to the kitchen, and poured herself a glass of water with trembling hands. That's when she heard it. A small scraping sound. Coming from the living room, like tiny feet dragging across the wooden floor. She slowly peeked around the corner. The Labubu doll was gone, her breath caught in her throat. The entire room was empty, and then, from behind her, a whisper, right by her ear. Ree! She screamed and turned, but no one was there. Her apartment was empty, but the doll had returned. Now it sat again on the shelf, but upside down. Its head tilted unnaturally to the side, as if its neck had been broken. That night, she didn't sleep. She placed the doll in a shoebox, taped it shut, and stuffed it into the farthest cabinet she could find. But as the clock ticked to 3 a.m., something began scratching from inside the walls. Like fingernails. Like something was trying to dig its way out. And again, that voice. Softer now, but clearer. Don't leave me alone again. By the third day, Rhea looked like a shadow of herself. She hadn't slept. Her hands shook when she poured coffee, and her eyes were rimmed with red. Every night, the same things repeated. Whispers, scratching, footsteps in places no one should be. The doll never stayed where she left it. She'd seal it in a box, lock it in a cupboard, even try to hide it in her building's garbage chute. And yet, every morning, it would reappear somewhere in her apartment. Closer. Always a little closer. She called Tara, desperate. I think it's haunted, she whispered into the phone, clutching her knees in the corner of her kitchen. Tara, it knows my name. It knows when I'm alone. There was a pause on the other end. Then Tara said something that made Rhea's blood run cold. Rhea? We haven't spoken in 2 days. What are you talking about? Rhea stared at the phone. The screen blinked. Call duration. 00000. She hadn't called anyone. The line had never connected. She dropped the phone and ran out of the apartment. This time she went back to the thrift shop, the one where she found the doll. But the street was empty. No sign, no store, just a crumbling wall between two buildings. She asked the peon vendor nearby. There used to be a shop here, right? With old stuff? The man looked confused. Beta, nothing's been there for 10 years. That place burned down. Rhea's mouth went dry. Burned? He nodded. Old man who owned it died in the fire. People say he dealt with cursed items. Black magic, even. Rhea stumbled back. Her legs felt numb. Her breath caught in her chest. She returned home to find her door wide open. Every light inside the apartment was off, but the Labubu doll was waiting on the couch. Not sitting. Standing. Its head tilted. Arms stretched slightly forward, like it had just been walking. She screamed and backed away, heart pounding so loud it drowned her thoughts. That night, she tried to burn it. She lit her bathroom bin on fire, dropped the doll inside, and watched it catch. The fabric sizzled, blackened. But the flames wouldn't consume it. The fire died first. The doll sat inside the ashes, untouched. Its eyes gleamed in the darkness. She ran. She checked into a hotel, vowing never to return. But the next morning, as she opened her suitcase, there it was, curled up between her clothes, the Labubu doll. Only now. Its stitched mouth was torn open, and inside, something was moving. Rhea never went back to her apartment. She tried to leave the city, but every hotel, every station, every place she stayed, the doll found her, always at 3 a.m., always whispering her name, until one day. Rhea stopped answering calls, stopped replying to messages. Her number was disconnected. Her flat, when police eventually entered, was covered in black soot, claw marks on the walls, and strange symbols drawn in red. No sign of Rhea. But on the bed, sitting perfectly still, was the Labubu doll, its head straight, its mouth stitched, shut again, and in its lap was a small torn piece of paper. Just 3 words, written in shaky ink: "Never bring it home."